Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today's the 5th of September 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, right, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD bank website, but specifically our JFD research page, which you can always check out on a daily basis, and I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here. But for now, let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the Nasdaq100. I looked at this one a while ago, and basically overall what I was saying, that we kind of continue to trade within this a bit of a ugly rising wedge formation. We can see that it is balancing above this, or even if we separate it out a little bit, we can see that it's trading above this upside support line taken from the low of December, the lowest point of December. And what I was talking about previously, and basically I was talking about this level right here, the 7,770 zone. So if we get a nice push above this, then yep, there is a possibility of seeing this one traveling further to the upside. And to be honest, looking at the cash index today, this morning, the cash index of Nasdaq100, we can see that it did get a nice pop here, and it already kind of popped through this 7,770 zone. So in a way, we will have a nice opening gap here to the upside, and this is where we're gonna keep an eye on this 7,832 zone, which previously acted as a good area of support here back on the 19th of July. We'll keep a close eye on this one. If it continues to push higher and breaks this level, then yep, the next target for us is around the 7,940 zone. So I've talked about this one previously. Initially we'll target that, and then we'll take it from there. It might travel higher, it might even travel all the way here towards the 8,027 zone, which is the all-time high here for this index. But again, let's not over speculate on this one too much. First, given that we will see a nice opening gap here to the upside, and given that we will see an opening price somewhere around here above the 7,770 zone, for now we're going to remain bullish. We're going to continue aiming higher, especially if it travels above the 7,832 zone, because this is going to be our next target. And if we get a break above this, then yep, the 7,940 zone could play out nicely. If this index suddenly reverses back down and drops back below the 7,770, well, I mean, this could turn out to be a little bit, I wouldn't say even ugly, but we could see a small slide here, and until it's kind of trading above this upside support line, this medium-term upside support line, this move lower could be seen as a temporary correction. We will only start considering further declines, let's say, if we see a drop below the roughly below the 7,600 zone. This way the price would also fall below its upside line here, and then yep, we will aim for these slightly lower areas. Again, until kind of we see that until we see that break, we're still kind of probably focusing more on the upside, given the fact that it's already looking at the cash index, it is trading above this 7,770 zone. So for now we are more positive than negative, but if this suddenly travels back below this 7,770, this it could lead to a possible slide here, but we'll still be very careful in terms of the downside here, because it may travel a little bit lower and then find some sort of support here somewhere, maybe near these EMAs here, and then reverse and push to the upside again. So that's why we will only get slightly more comfortable with lower levels if we see a drop below the 7,600 zone here and below this upside support line. Jumping into gold very quickly. Gold, after trying to make its way above this 1555 zone, it failed to do so, and you can see that now it's reversing back down. And this is what I was talking about recently in one of my videos this week, where I was covering gold. And basically, if it struggles to push above the 1555, then yep, we could see this one sliding a little bit lower. From the very short-term perspective, what you could look at here is at this little level right here near the 1533-34 zone. If we see a drop below this, this would also place the price below the 50 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. The 50 EMA is marked by the red line here, and this way we could then target the 1516 zone. But a break below this that could lead towards even further decline. So for now, we're going to be very careful. We're going to keep it short and simple. For now, like I said, we're going to keep an eye on the on this 1533-34 zone. If we get a nice good drop below this, then we will aim for the 1516 area. But if that fails to withhold, now this is where we could see further declines. The only thing is that don't forget, we're still within this nice uptrend, so any kind of move lower here would be seen as a short-term correction before another leg of buying if this upside line holds. But again, that's a bit of a journey for gold to make. So for now, like I said, let's see what it wants to do near this or around this 1533-34 zone. Still, the upside scenario remains the same. We need to see a nice good clear break, and well, ideally a daily close would be nice as well, above the 1555, in order to aim for higher levels, because this way the commodity would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could then aim for slightly higher levels. Jumping into a few pairs now very quickly, and the first one I want to touch on is the euro dollar. So this one's getting a nice boost, and this is what I was talking about this morning. Basically, I was saying for you guys to keep a close eye on these two levels. So on the downside, the 1.1008, and on the upside, the 1.1038 zone. So as you can see, we had a nice push above it. It pushed higher, and it's now kind of traveling here to the upside. It's testing its 100 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. Let's see if it can continue pushing higher. Slightly above that, we do have the R2, which is around the 1.1083. But to be honest, looking at this picture, of course, overall we're wouldn't use the word overall, but for now we are somewhat positive on this pair. The next target could be around the 1.1098 or 11 zone, approximately around there. This is where we're going to be initially targeting, the 1.11. As I said, like I said, for now it's looking quite good, and then if we see a test of this 1.11 zone, we'll take it from there. We'll see what he wants to do, because to be honest, it's not far from there would be the downside resistance line, this kind of short, or should I say already medium term, no, still a short term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 25th of June. We will keep a close eye on it as well, because in a way, if it travels towards the 1.11 zone, well, to be honest, might as well go and test this downside line. But again, for now, you can see that the pair is already pushing above its 100 EMA. Let's see if it can continue traveling higher here towards the today's R2, which is around the 1.1084-85 zone, and then we'll take it from there. Like I said, we may even test the 1.11 zone today as well. EURGBP, very quickly on this one. So the pound is even stronger than the euro today again. So you can see that the pair now is pushing below this 0.9015 zone, and of course breaking the psychological 0.90 level, and the level that I was talking about in one of my previous videos was the 0.8951 zone. So as you can see, it had a perfect test today. It rebounded from there, and of course, for now, we're not excluding a possibility of seeing maybe a small correction here back to the upside. But let's say as long as it remains below below the 0.90 level, below the psychological 0.90, then we will continue targeting the downside. And one of the interesting levels to watch here could be this 0.8890, which is marked by the low of the 25th of July. So also keep your eyes on this one. In terms of the upside here, if this suddenly travels back above the 0.9015 area, maybe we could see this one pushing a little bit higher. Maybe we could see this one aiming a little bit for slightly higher levels. But then again, still we'll be very careful here, because if we draw a nice tentative downside resistance line here and capturing these two peaks, you'll see that this is where it could travel to. So if we see a pushback above the 0.9015 zone, this is what we will consider. I will consider a possible test of this downside line. We'll see how it performs around there. If it wants to break it, then that's good news for the bulls, but if it struggles, then we could see another leg of selling here. But again, for now, from the very short-term perspective, of course, we're seeing a small could see a small possible correction here, but if it struggles to push back above the psychological 0.90 level, we will remain bearish at least in the short run. Another interesting pair that I've covered this morning, that's EURSEK. So the euro against the Swedish krona. So initially we were trading around here, and this is what I was talking about. Basically, we were during the morning video, we were still hanging around here, and this is what I was saying. If we see a drop lower here, and if this upside line holds, we could see the bulls jumping in here and potentially driving this one higher. But as you can see, but if we get a break below this upside line and below the 200 EMA, then yep, we will consider further declines, especially even if we see a drop below the 10.6868. So we had that break, and you can see that the pair traveled well below it, and now of course it did correct, and now it's correcting slightly above it, but it's currently kind of balancing around this level. So keep your eyes on this one. In a way, we could see maybe this one pushing a little bit higher here, maybe testing this this upside line from underneath, or even testing this 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. But if it struggles to push back above this upside line, then well, it could turn into another leg of selling here, guys. So that's why for now we're keeping this scenario as our main one. As I said, we could see this one correcting a little bit higher here, but if it struggles to push above this upside line or the 200 EMA, then yep, we could see another leg of selling. Excuse me, GBPUSD, a very interesting one, and of course rallying nicely. And this is what I was talking about this morning. Basically, initially I was hoping to see a bit of a larger correction here, but it did travel lower initially, but as you can see, never reached the pivot and exploded to the upside and broke above the 1.2260 zone. But the most important here is that it broke above the 1.2310 level, and I talked about this level in the beginning of this week, and this is what I was saying, that this is where we could turn a little bit more bullish on this one. Now, don't get me wrong, we did have a straight move higher here, so at some point we could see a bit of correction here to the downside. So for now, what we're going to do here is we're going to try to find another potential good area of resistance, one of which could be this one right here near the 1.2380. This is what we're going to be targeting for now. In a way, we could see something like this happening, where the pair could travel higher, could test this area here, and if it struggles to push above it, we could see this one reversing and drifting back a little bit lower here for maybe a little bit of correction. Now, this level here, the 1.2380, was marked by the low of the 17th of July, so previously acting as a good area of support. Now it could take the role of resistance. So do not exclude this possibility here. So this level also is not far from today's R2. So yep, we could see something like this happening, where the GBPUSD could push a little bit higher, tested 1.2380, and then reverse for a little bit of correction. Again, of course, if this reverses and travels lower here, we'll be very careful around the 1.2310 level. Again, let's say if it acts as a fantastic area of support here, we could see this one curving up like this and pushing back to the upside. So something like this could be possible as well. And we will only start looking at lower levels if we see a push back above the back below this downside resistance line, and this downside resistance line has been running here from the high of May this year. So keep your eyes on this one, and like I said, we will start looking at lower levels if we see a drop below it. And the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and that's USDJPY. So this one, I talked about this one yesterday in my Traders Espresso, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. No, it was in the tea time that I was talking about USDJPY. Basically what I was saying, that we need to see a clear push above this 200 EMA and ideally a push above this 106.68. Today we're getting exactly that, so it made its way higher. The only thing is that you can see that the bears are really kind of trying to fight it back here and trying to push this back below this 106.68, so, or in other words, below this 200 EMA. So if they succeed in doing that, and if we see a daily close below this, then, well, in a way we could see something like this here. We could see a slide back down, maybe towards this week's lows, which were near the 105.68 zone 69. So again, keep your eyes on today's today's activity here, and today's daily candle. If it stays below this, then, well, we could see maybe this one drifting back down a little bit here. We could see a similar scenario as we had with the USD CAD, where it was breaking the upper bound of the range, giving us false breakouts, and then eventually kind of sold off heavily. So that's why for now be very careful with this. If it stays above this 106.68 69 zone, then yep, there's a good chance we could see this one traveling a little bit higher. The only thing is that we're not going to aim for too much to the upside. Initially we'll target the 107.18 and then we'll take it from there. Then we'll see what it wants to do after. If it wants to travel higher, then that's good news for the bulls, but it might stall here near this area, near the 107.18, and maybe then we could see maybe a bit of correction here. But like I said, let's not over speculate on this one too much. First, let's see what he wants to do with the 106.68. If it stays above it, then yep, there's a good chance we could see this one pushing towards the 107.18, which in a way could stall the rate initially, and then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do after. Okay guys, I hope you really found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. If you want to join me tomorrow morning, as always in my Traders Espresso, that's 6 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a beautiful evening guys, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.